Greetings, anatomy students. This is part two of the joint classification lecture slide deck. And here we are only going to be looking at synovial joints. So remember that synovial joints have two ends of the bone that are joined together by a joint capsule. There's space in the middle that's filled with synovial fluid. Now we have four main categories of synovial joints, by the way, which are all diarthroses. They all provide for free movement of the joints. But they can be labeled as non-axial, uniaxial, biaxial, or multi-axial, which basically means that like it's telling you how many different directions it can actually move. The first one is kind of unique though. This is the plane joint. This is considered a non-axial joint because it doesn't allow for any rotation at all. Basically, you have the two flat sides of the bones together and they just rub and they provide for a little bit of sliding movement. You're going to find these in between the carpal bones on the wrist. The next type is a uniaxial type of joint. This is the hinge joint, and this is where you have a cylinder that fits into a cup or a trough. And in the picture, you're looking at the elbow joint there. So the cylinder is the trochlea on the humerus, and the trough or the cup is the trochlear notch that's found on the ulna. And it's going to move like a door hinge, so it can only like move in one direction. The elbow, ankle, and the phalanges, like in the fingers, like you're just, the phalanges are, your joints are going to be like here and here, in between the proximal, and the middle, and then between the middle and the distal phalanges. And so, yeah, like you're not able to like take your whole finger and like spin it around. No, you can only go like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to show you like, this, like that. So that would be uniaxial, kind of, again, acting like a door hinge. And so we are going to get movement around one axis only. Our next type of uniaxial joint is called a pivot joint, and this is where you have the round end of one bone that fits into a sleeve or into a ring of bone on a second bone, and it's going to offer rotation along a long axis. And so this is going, an example here that you see in the picture would be the proximal radial ulnar joint. So this is where the radius and the ulna are joined together just beneath the humerus. And so that's going to allow us to twist our forearms in either direction. The other example of this is the axis atlas joint in the cervical vertebrae, and so, or in the cervical region of the spine. And so that's going to allow us to move back and forth like so. So our atlas is going to spin along the axis, just like the Earth spins along its axis. So those are our two uniaxial joints. Our next two joints are biaxial joints. And the first one, I'm sorry it didn't, I put them in a different order on your page. So you're going to be filling out notes on the condylar joints here. These are biaxial, and you are going to have like the rounded end of one bone, and it is going to fit into the cup or the concave end of the other bone that's in the joint. So if you look at the picture, the metacarpal has a blue part at the very end, and that is the rounded part of the bone. And then the proximal phalanx has the cup portion. And so the rounded end fits into the cup, and we can move our hands like side to side, and we can like wave like so, but we're not going to be able to do any kind of rotation. And so this joint is called the metacarpal phalangeal joint. If you use that in Scrabble, you're going to win. Okay, and then our last biaxial joint is called the saddle joint, and you're going to find the saddle joint in between the carpal and the metacarpal of the thumb. And this is the joint that allows us, whoops, that allows us to have a an opposable thumb, because our thumb is able to move like across ways like so because of the arrangement of these bones. But also like we can move it like side to side over this way. We can rotate it, around. And so this is considered biaxial, the same movements as condylar joints. Both bones have concave and convex areas, which basically means that it's kind of like two U's that kind of come together, like across each other, like they sit perpendicular to each other, and then it can kind of glide across like so. And so this is the carpometacarpal joint in the thumb. All right, and then our last type of joint is a multi-axial joint. These are the ball and socket joints, and you're going to find these in the shoulder and also in the hip. These are multi-axial because like you can like rotate them in and out like medially and laterally. You can move them around in different circles. You're going to have movement basically around all of the axes, not just one or two. And so the head of the humerus fits into the glenoid fossa of the scapula, which you can see in the picture here, and the head of the femur fits into the acetabulum on the pelvis, which you don't see here, but hopefully you studied enough so that you are able to picture that in your mind. So that is it for this slide deck. Thank you very much, and I hope that you learned something today. See you next time.